Picture a marina at dawn, where the air hums with the soft clink of rigging against masts, and the faint temps of salt water lingers like a whispered promise. The water laps gently at the hulls, a rhythm as steady as a heartbeat, cradling boats that bob in their slips. This is where you find yourself, standing on a weathered dock, the boards creaking underfoot, their splintered edges smoothed by years of salt and sun. The scene is serene, almost sacred, and it isn't. A scream shatters the calm, raw and jagged, slicing through the morning haze. It belongs to James Carter, a man whose life has been tethered to this marina for decades, and whose world is about to unravel at the hands of a woman named Evelyn Warwick, the HOA's reigning tyrant. James, a wiry man in his late 40s, with hands calloused from years of knot tying and engine repairs, had always found solace in his boat, the Salty Dawn. It wasn't much to look at, a 30-foot sloop with faded blue paint and a mast that leaned slightly. From a storm it barely survived, but it was his sanctuary. The boat smelled of polished teak and diesel, a scent that grounded him, reminding him of his father's lessons on navigating by the stars. Every weekend, James would slip away from the chaos of his construction job and the suffocating rules of the Seaside Estates HOA, sailing out to where the horizon swallowed his worries. But this morning, as he approached his slip, his heart plummeted. The Salty Dawn lay violated, its deck a carnage of slashed cushions, shattered windows, and red paint streaked across the hull like blood from a wound. The words "Dock Hog" were scrawled in jagged letters, the paint still dripping into the water below. You can imagine yourself standing there, the dock swaying faintly beneath you as James's knees buckled. His breath came in shallow gasps, the air thick with the acrid sting of spray paint and betrayal. He reached out, touching the ruined canvas of his mainsail, now torn into ribbons that fluttered in the breeze. The destruction wasn't random, it was personal, a calculated act meant to break him, and James knew exactly who was responsible. Evelyn Warwick, the HOA president, had been gunning for him ever since he refused to pay her docking fee surcharge, a thinly veiled extortion scheme she enforced on marina residents. Evelyn, with her pristine white blazer and a smile as sharp as a filleting knife, ruled the Seaside Estates with an iron grip, her authority bolstered by a clique of loyalists who patrolled the docks like hawks circling prey. Evelyn's tyranny was no secret. The marina, once a haven for sailors and dreamers, had become her personal fiefdom. She'd find boats for unauthorized modifications, a flag too bright, a cleat too shiny, or demand tribute for prime slips, redirecting the funds to her own accounts. Residents whispered about her late-night meetings with shady developers, her yacht, the Pearl Empress, gleaming at the marina's far end, a symbol of her untouchable power. James had clashed with her before, calling her out at an HOA meeting where the room smelled of stale coffee and fear. He'd stood tall, his voice steady, pointing out her illegal fees, only to be drowned out by her allies' jeers. Now, as he surveyed the wreckage of his boat, the memory of her cold stare burned in his mind. She'd warned him, "Cross me, and you'll lose more than your pride." The marina buzzed with onlookers now, drawn by James's anguished cry. Neighbors gathered at a cautious distance, their murmurs blending with the gulls' screeches overhead. You could feel the tension, a current running through the crowd, as they avoided James's gaze. No one dared speak Evelyn's name aloud, but their eyes flicked toward her yacht, its polished hull catching the sunrise like a taunt. Among them was Leela, a retired nurse who lived on her catamaran 2 slips down. Her silver hair glinted as she approached James, her voice low, carrying the weight of someone who'd seen too much. "She's escalating," Lila said, her fingers brushing the vandalized helm. "You're not the first, but you're the loudest. That makes you a target." James's hands clenched, the splinters of his broken boat biting into his palms. The marina, with its familiar creaks and salty air, felt alien now, poisoned by Evelyn's reach. He thought of the years he'd poured into the salty Dawn, the nights he'd spent sanding its deck under starlight, the mornings he'd woken to the gentle rock of its hull. It wasn't just a boat, it was his defiance, his proof that he could carve out a life beyond the HOA's chokehold, and Evelyn had gutted it. The paint cans lay discarded near the dock, their lids glinting mockingly, as if daring him to retaliate. He knew reporting it to the police would be futile. Evelyn's brother-in-law was a sergeant, and complaints against her vanished like ripples in the tide. As the sun climbed higher, the marina's rhythm resumed, but James remained rooted to the dock, his eyes fixed on the distant silhouette of the Pearl Empress. You can picture him there, a man unmoored, the sea breeze tugging at his worn jacket, carrying the faint scent of ozone and vengeance. The destruction of his boat wasn't just an attack, it was a declaration of war. Evelyn had pushed him to the edge, expecting him to crumble. But James wasn't broken yet. Deep within him, a plan began to form, as quiet and relentless as the tide. He'd make her pay, not with paint or petty vandalism, but with something that would strike at the heart of her empire. The scene fades as James turns away, his boots thudding against the dock, each step echoing with purpose. The marina, with its swaying masts and whispered secrets, holds its breath, waiting for the storm to break. You're left with the image of the salty dawn, its wounds exposed to the morning light, and the promise of a reckoning that will ripple far beyond these waters. The marina at dusk is a different creature, its edges softened by the amber glow of sodium lights reflecting off the water. The air carries a cool edge now, laced with the briny scent of seaweed and the faint hum of boats settling into their slips. You're standing on the same weathered dock where James Carter's world was shattered that morning, but the scene has shifted. The crowd has dispersed, leaving only the rhythmic lapping of waves and the occasional clink of a loose halyard. James, however, hasn't left. He lingers near the salty dawn, its ruined silhouette a constant ache, like a bruise he can't stop pressing. His eyes, though, aren't on his boat anymore. They're fixed on the far end of the marina, where the Pearl Empress looms, Evelyn Warwick's gleaming monument to her dominance. James's hands, still flecked with red paint from his earlier attempts to scrub the vandalism, tremble not with fear, but with purpose. You can imagine yourself in his place, the weight of betrayal heavy in your chest, the marina's quiet pulse urging you toward action. He knows confronting Evelyn directly is a losing game. Her connections, her charm, her ruthless control over the HOA make her untouchable in any public arena. But out here, on the water's edge, where the rules bend under the weight of salt and shadow, James sees an opportunity, not to match her cruelty with more destruction, but to outsmart her, to sink her pride where it hurts most, her yacht. The idea takes root slowly, a seed planted in the fertile soil of his anger, sprouting into a plan as audacious as it is precise. He begins by gathering intelligence, moving through the marina with the stealth of a man who spent years reading tides and winds. The docks are alive with their own secrets, and James knows how to listen. He starts with Lila, the retired nurse, whose catamaran smells of lavender and old books. Over a thermos of coffee, its steam curling into the evening air, she shares what she's heard. Evelyn's yacht isn't just a status symbol, it's her leverage. She uses it to host developers, charming them with champagne and sunset cruises, while negotiating shady land deals that threaten the marina's future. She's untouchable because she's useful, Lila says, her voice low, the creak of her boat underscoring her words. But that yacht, it's her weakness. She loves it more than her own skin. James spends nights researching, his trailer home glowing with the light of a borrowed laptop. The marina's Wi-Fi is spotty, but he digs into forums, schematics, and whispered rumors from boat mechanics. He learns about the Pearl Empress, a 50-foot luxury yacht with a fiberglass hull and a bilge system that's notoriously finicky. A small, well-placed sabotage could flood it, not enough to endanger lives, but enough to send it to the marina's muddy bottom. He considers explosives or cutting fuel lines, but dismisses them, too messy, too traceable. Instead, he lands on a subtler weapon, a remote-activated bilge pump override, a device small enough to hide, sophisticated enough to bypass the yacht's failsafes, and devastating enough to sink her pride without a trace back to him. The plan takes shape in a rented garage a mile from the marina, where the air smells of motor oil and sawdust. James, no stranger to tinkering, sources parts from a junkyard, wires, a microcontroller, a waterproof casing. You can picture him there, hunched over a workbench, his fingers steady as he solders connections, the faint hiss of the iron blending with the distant cry of gulls. He tests the device in a bucket of water, watching it hum to life, a quiet thrill running through him. It's not just about revenge. It's about reclaiming the rhythm of his life, disrupted by Evelyn's tyranny. Each wire he twists, each circuit he completes, is a step toward leveling the playing field. To plant the device, James needs access to the Pearl Empress. This is where the marina's unwritten rules work in his favor. Evelyn, for all her paranoia, trusts the dockhands, mostly underpaid locals, who resent her as much as anyone. James recruits Marco, a wiry teenager who cleans boats for extra cash. Marco's hands smell of bleach and wax, and his eyes light up when James slips him $100 and a promise of discretion. "She treats us like garbage," Marco mutters, glancing at the yacht. "I'll get you on board." The plan is simple. Marco will distract Evelyn's security camera with a staged spill during a cleaning shift, giving James a 10-minute window to slip below deck. The night of the sabotage arrives, the marina cloaked in a fog that muffles sound and blurs edges. You're there with James, feeling the damp boards beneath your feet, the air thick with anticipation. He moves like a shadow, his backpack heavy with the device, its weight a reminder of the line he's about to cross. Marco's spill a bucket of soapy water, accidentally dumped near the camera, goes off without a hitch. James boards the Pearl Empress, the yacht's deck cool under his sneakers, its opulence almost suffocating. The interior smells of leather and polish, a stark contrast to the diesel and salt simplicity of his own boat. He navigates the bilge compartment, his flashlight catching glints of chrome and fiberglass, and installs the device in minutes, securing it behind a panel where no one will look. As he slips back onto the dock, the fog swallows him, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and exhilaration. You can feel it, that moment where the plan locks into place. The marina's quiet rhythm now, a countdown to chaos. James doesn't linger. He returns to his trailer, the device's remote in his pocket, its weight a promise. He knows what comes. Next, the sinking of the Pearl Empress will be more than revenge. It will be a signal to the marina that Evelyn's reign can be challenged. But as he lies in bed, the distant hum of the marina lulling him, a flicker of doubt creeps in. What if she finds out? What if she fights back? The questions linger, unanswered, as the night deepens, the tide pulling the marina toward an inevitable storm. The marina at midnight is a world of shadows and whispers, where the water mirrors a sky studded with stars, each ripple catching their faint glow. The air is heavy with the scent of salt and diesel, a familiar comfort to those who call this place home. But tonight it carries an undercurrent of tension, sharp as the edge of a blade. You're standing on the dock, the boards slick with dew under your feet, the distant hum of a generator blending with the soft creak of moored boats. At the far end of the marina, the Pearl Empress sits proud, its white hull gleaming like a taunt, unaware of the sabotage ticking away in its belly. James Carter, his breath shallow and his hands steady, holds the remote that will change everything. Tonight, Evelyn Warwick's empire begins to crumble. James stands in the shadow of a storage shed, its weathered wood smelling of tar and neglect. You can imagine yourself there, the weight of the moment pressing against your chest, the cool plastic of the remote in his hand, a lifeline to his resolve. He's chosen this hour carefully, midnight, when the marina is quiet, the dockhand gone, and Evelyn likely asleep in her waterfront condo, its windows dark against the horizon. The device he planted, a small marvel of wires and malice, is ready to override the yacht's bilge pumps, flooding its compartments with seawater. It's not meant to harm anyone, only to sink her pride, to drag the Pearl Empress to the marina's muddy floor. James hesitates, his thumb hovering over the button, the rhythm of his life, once defined by sails and stars, now tethered to this act of defiance. He presses the button, a faint click, almost inaudible, echoes in his ears, and somewhere deep in the yacht's hull, the device hums to life. For a moment, nothing happens. The marina holds its breath, the water still, the air thick with anticipation. Then, a low groan ripples across the dock, the sound of fiberglass straining under pressure. The Pearl Empress begins to list, its starboard side dipping as water pours into its compartments. You can picture it, the yacht's elegant lines tilting, its deck lights flickering as the power falters, the once mighty vessel surrendering to the tide. James watches, his heart a drumbeat, as the marina wakes to the chaos. Lights snap on in nearby boats, voices call out, and the night fractures into a symphony of alarm. Evelyn appears within minutes, her white blazer thrown over pajamas, her hair wild in the moonlight. She sprints down the dock, her heels clattering, her voice a shriek that cuts through the air like a gull's cry. "My boat," she screams, shoving past onlookers, her face a mask of fury and disbelief. You're there, watching her scramble onto the tilting deck of the Pearl Empress, her hands clawing at railings as she tries to assess the damage. The yacht is sinking faster now, its bow dipping into the black water, bubbles rising like a dying breath. Marina residents gather, their whispers a chorus of shock and suppressed glee, but none dare approach Evelyn. None, that is, except James. He steps into the open, his boots steady on the dock, his face unreadable. Evelyn spots him, her eyes narrowing, the connection instantaneous. "You," she hisses, leaping from the sinking yacht to the dock with surprising agility. The crowd parts, sensing the storm about to break. You can feel the electricity, the air thick with the scent of ozone and vengeance. As Evelyn charges at James, she swings, her manicured nails raking his cheek, drawing blood that glistens in the moonlight. James stumbles but doesn't fall, his hands raised not to strike but to shield. "You did this," she screams, her voice raw, her fists pounding his chest. The dock sways under their struggle, the water below churning as the Pearl Empress groans its final surrender. The brawl is chaotic but brief, a flurry of rage and desperation. James, stronger but restrained, pushes Evelyn back, his hands gripping her wrists to stop her assault. Blood trickles from his cheek, mixing with the salt on his skin, the pain a sharp reminder of the line he's crossed. Marina residents, frozen, at first now surge forward, pulling Evelyn away as she spits curses, her blazer stained with dock grime. "I'll ruin you," she shrieks, her voice cracking as she's restrained by Lila and Marco, their faces grim but resolute. The yacht, now half submerged, lets out a final gurgle, its stern slipping beneath the surface, leaving only a swirl of debris and oil in its wake. You're standing there, the dock vibrating with the aftermath, the crowd's murmurs blending with the lap of waves. James wipes the blood from his face, his eyes locked on the spot where the Pearl Empress once stood. The victory is bittersweet, his plan worked, but the cost is written in the red streaks on his skin, the weight of Evelyn's hatred now a tangible force. The marina feels different now, its rhythm disrupted, its secrets spilling into the open. Evelyn, panting and disheveled, glares at James, her mind already spinning new schemes. But something shifts in the crowd whispers of her tyranny, her extortion, her shady deals grow louder. Emboldened by the sight of her downfall, James turns away, his boots heavy on the dock, the remote still in his pocket, its purpose fulfilled. He knows this isn't the end. Evelyn's wrath will burn hotter now, and the marina's fragile peace is shattered. But as he walks toward his trailer, the stars above glinting like witnesses, he feels a spark of something new, not just vengeance, but power. The marina, with its creaking docks and hidden currents, is no longer just Evelyn's domain. You can sense it, the tide turning, the promise of a reckoning yet to come as the night settles over the water, heavy with the weight of what's next. The marina at sunrise is a canvas of soft golds and pinks, the water catching the first light like a mirror held to the sky. The air is crisp, laced with the familiar tang of salt and the faint, lingering trace of oil from the sunken Pearl Empress. You're standing on the dock, its boards still damp from the night's chaos. The creak of moored boats, a quiet reminder of the marina's restless pulse. The wreckage of Evelyn Warwick's yacht lies beneath the surface, its absence a gaping wound in the marina's skyline. But the tension hasn't faded, sharper now, a current running through the gathered residents. James Carter, his cheek still raw from Evelyn's attack, stands among them, his eyes weary but unyielding. The fight isn't over. It's only shifted to a new battlefield, one where secrets, not sabotage, will decide the victor. The morning after the sinking, the marina buzzes with a different energy, not fear, but defiance. You can feel it, the way neighbors linger on their decks. Their voices low but steady, their glances darting toward Evelyn's waterfront condo, its blinds drawn tight. The crowd that watched the Pearl Empress go down hasn't dispersed entirely. They've regrouped, drawn together by the crack in Evelyn's armor. Lila, the retired nurse, is at the heart of it, her catamaran a makeshift command center. Her boat smells of brewed tea and old rope, its cramped cabin filled with residents clutching mugs, their faces lit by the glow of a laptop screen. "Got something," Lila says, her voice calm but edged with steel. As she clicks through files, Marco, the dockhand, smuggled from the HOA office. James, leaning against the cabin wall, feels the weight of the night's violence in his bones. You can imagine yourself in his place, the sting of his scratched cheek a constant reminder of the cost. The marina's rhythm, now a drumbeat, urging him forward. The files reveal what whispers had long suggested. Evelyn's extortion ran deeper than docking fees. She'd been skimming marina funds for years, funneling them into offshore accounts tied to her developer friends. Emails detail her strong-arming residents into selling their slips at below-market rates. Her yacht used as a floating office for backroom deals. Most damning are the marina's security logs, showing her disabling cameras the night the Salty Dawn was vandalized. Her fingerprints, literal and figurative, over the crime. The discovery is a spark in dry grass. Residents, once cowed by Evelyn's influence, begin to speak up. You're there, hearing their stories unfold, each one a thread in the tapestry of her tyranny. An elderly sailor recounts losing his slip over a fabricated fine. A young couple shares how Evelyn threatened to tow their houseboat unless they paid her consulting fee. The marina, with its creaking docks and salt-worn hulls, becomes a confessional, its air thick with the scent of shared outrage. James listens, his hands clenched, the memory of his ruined boat fueling his resolve. He knows exposing Evelyn won't undo the damage to the Salty Dawn, but it could free the marina from her grip. Lila organizes the evidence, her nurse's precision guiding the plan. They'll present it at an emergency HOA meeting, called under a bylaw. Evelyn, overlooked in her arrogance. Marco, his hands still smelling of dock wax, volunteers to distribute flyers, slipping them under windshields and into mailboxes. The meeting is set for noon in the marina's community center, a squat building that smells of mildew and forgotten potlucks. As the hour approaches, the marina hums with anticipation. Residents streaming in, their footsteps echoing on the linoleum floor. You can picture it, the room packed, the air heavy with sweat and determination. Evelyn's absence, a looming presence, until she strides in, her blazer pristine, her smile a blade. Evelyn tries to seize control, her voice smooth as she dismisses the meeting as unauthorized. But Lila is ready, projecting the files onto a screen, each document a blow to Evelyn's facade. You're there, watching her smile falter, as emails flash by, her own words condemning her. The crowd murmurs, then roars, their anger a wave crashing over her defenses. James steps forward, his voice steady, recounting the vandalism, the sinking, the Brawl limiting his sabotage but laying bare Evelyn's cruelty. He holds up a photo of the salty dawn, its wounds a silent witness, and the room falls quiet. The marina's rhythm pulsing through their shared resolve. Evelyn's composure cracks. She lunges for the projector, her heels skidding, but residents block her, their hands gentle but firm. The police arrive, not her brother-in-law, but a detective tipped off by Leela's anonymous call. They escort Evelyn out, her curses echoing down the dock, the crowd partying like water around a sinking stone. You can feel the shift, the marina exhaling, its secrets laid bare. But there's a twist. Among the files is a deed showing Evelyn had already sold the marina's land to developers. The deal set to close in days. The victory is fragile, James, and the residents must now fight to save their home. As the meeting ends, James steps onto the dock, the sun high, the water glittering like a promise. You're with him, the breeze carrying the scent of salt and freedom, the marina's rhythm steady once more. He looks at the salty dawn, its wounds still raw, but sees beyond it, to a future where the marina belongs to its people. The triumph isn't just his, it's theirs, forged in the crucible of Evelyn's downfall. The fight isn't over, but for now the tide has turned, and James stands tall, unmoored no longer. The marina at dusk is a place of quiet victory. Its docks bathed in the soft glow of twilight, the water a mirror for the fading sky. You're standing where it all began, the boards beneath you creaking with the weight of the story's end. The air smells of salt and possibility, the marina's rhythm restored, its people united. James Carter, his cheek healing, looks out at the horizon, the salty dawn waiting for repair, a symbol of resilience. Evelyn Warwick's shadow lingers, her schemes exposed, her power broken, but the marina faces a new challenge, saving itself from the developers she betrayed them to. You can feel it, the gentle pull of hope, the promise of a community reborn. Imagine yourself here, the waves whispering of battles won and those yet to come. The marina's heartbeat, a lullaby of defiance, and dreams